Hi, and welcome to the Intentional Wealth Update from Morton Brown Family Wealth for the week of July 5th, 2021. I'm Dennis Morton here with Katie Brown and Cody Demmel. How are you guys doing?
Good.
Very well, thank you.
Good. This week, Barry Ritholtz in Bloomberg shared his 10 rules for money. He describes himself as a list guy. It helps him to kind of organize his thoughts and document the lessons learned over a lifetime of investing. And on Twitter, he put out the challenge for other financial professionals to post their 10 rules for money. And there were some great lists, hundreds of lists that came out. We looked at a couple of them, specifically one from Morgan Housel, a collaborative fund, and just summarize some of these rules that have helped him to think constructively about his relationship with money. Katie and Cody, this was a really fun thing to talk about for our team. What are some of the rules that jumped out for you in the lists that we saw?
I really liked one of the rules was save more money and have more patience. Both parts of that I think are equally important because we do often, and kind of the other side of that, there was another rule in there too that said debt removes options and savings adds options. We sometimes have those conversations with some of our clients that they've taken on, quite a bit of debt, whether it's with real estate or businesses or whatever the case may be. And now they have to their income has to keep pace with that. And so it kind of creates a challenging dynamic, but to always make sure that you have enough of the savings, enough of the emergency savings, enough of the liquidity to keep those options open.
It's interesting you say that because we've had these conversations with interest rates being as low as they've been. We had mortgage rates as low as they were earlier this year. None of these rules have to do with math, because if it was all about math, you might take on as much debt as you can right now because it's so inexpensive. But what it doesn't tell you is it removes all your options. It just keeps you locked in so many ways. So these rules were more behavioral. Cody, what jumped out to you?
Speaking of that, the one I liked was pretty similar to Katie's first one. The formula for how to do well with money is simple, but the behaviors you battle while implementing it are pretty hard. And I don't know if the formula for how you do well with money is simple, if that's the right word, but we all know, and we always talk about saving on an ongoing basis. And if we let that grow for the long term, your potential for doing well over the long term is a lot higher.
Right. It reminds me of that great modern philosopher, Mike Tyson, that everyone has a plan until they get punched in the face. And I mean, life's going to deliver you variables. And, the formula might look simple. Like when we give somebody a financial plan, try and make it as simple as possible, but then emphasize life's going to happen. This is going to change. I think the one that jumped out to me the most is, well, the thing that just an observation on the whole list of 10, and we'll share this in the links here. It really has a lot to do with doing it for you and not doing what matters for other people. Make sure, the spending of money just to impress other people is one of the easiest ways to separate yourself from, financial security. And this whole list has to do with becoming really aware of what you're trying to do and not trying to impress others, not trying to keep up, but do your thing. I agree with keeping the savings adds options. That was one that really jumped out. On the Barry Ritholtz list, it was notable that no one said, picking the right stock or finding the right financial advisor, right? There was all of these were very internally driven.
One of the other ones I thought was good too is getting rich and staying rich are very different things that take different skills. I think that kind of dives into having the right financial advisor. As we kind of said in the first one, saving over the long term is a great thing, but your withdrawal strategy when you get to retirement is pretty much just as important, if not more important.
I would almost encourage someone, if they were interviewing a financial advisor, it would probably be pretty wise to take one of these lists, to take the Morgan Housel list or the Barry Ritholtz list and walk in and talk to your advisor about these. And or just have these in mind, because it's almost like rules for being an advisor too, for a good relationship. If your advisor isn't encouraging these best habits in you or encouraging you to do something other than these, like to take on leverage or to, try and get there quickly or whatever it might be, there's going to be a disconnect. What do you think about that, Katie, as far as these being rules for advisors too?
I completely agree with that. That second piece of the first one that I mentioned, the patience piece of it. I think that's something that our industry struggles with. I think, consumers, individuals, and also advisors struggle with that patience piece because advisors sometimes want to prove their worth and say, okay, we need to make a change because I want to prove that I'm working hard. But sometimes the best thing to do is not make a change and to just be patient and let the strategy work, and to encourage your clients to allow time for that strategy to work.
That's the sad part, is that if you're looking for performance, if you're looking for someone to sell you performance, there's somebody out there who's going to sell it for you, or a guarantee. Somebody will sell it to you. Henry Ford said, if I gave everyone what they wanted, I would have given them faster horses. But there's something else out there. There's like a higher instinct. Cody, what if you had a rule? What would it be?
I think mine would be pretty similar to the first one I said about systematic investing over time, and just the potential you have for growth over time is a lot more important than trying to time everything.
Katie, how about you?
On my end, I would say aim high for savings and systematize. Set up the systems so that you can kind of remove some of the behavior piece. It happens automatically. You don't have to think about it, and then you can just know where your flex points are on the other side.
This is feeling very process driven right now. I like it. A lot of systematizing. And I think mine would have one thing I didn't see in here, and I would have a rule that had to do with communication. There's always someone else involved. We work with a lot of couples. Money decisions rarely happen in a vacuum. There's somebody else dependent upon that. And sometimes, spouses can be on different pages, and, or family, different generations of families. And I think that there's an element of communication and making sure that everyone understands the why behind what you're doing. It's one thing to know, okay, we're saving, we're spending, we're doing this and that for mechanically month to month, year to year. But communicate that well, and the why behind it it saves a lot of trouble when big decisions or the unexpected happens.
That's a really good point. That's surprising that that we didn't come across. There may be in some of the other rules that other advisors posted, but surprising that on these lists there was not anything in there about communication, because that drives so much of the decision making.
Mm-hmm. It's the number one thing that couples fight about. It's just, and it plays into everything. Everyone has a different sense of what security means to them, and how we're going to get there. And in the patience thing, if one person's expecting to go at this speed, the other person's expecting to go at that speed, impatience can rear its head. All right, so we have in the Morton Brown billboard budget, we have limited space. So if we were to put one word up on a billboard to advertise your rules or to summarize your rules, Barry Ritholtz in his article, he used one word, and it was behave in big block letters. So Cody, one word billboard, what are you going to put up there?
Adapt. I think being able to adapt to certain outcomes is really important.
How has that helped you? How's that shown up in your experience with money?
So I mean, obviously I've adapted. I'm changing jobs. That's obviously been very important, and it's worked out for me. But then also being able to adapt with the monthly expenses, how much you want to save over time. I just think that's important to be able to do.
Kind of like Katie said, it's giving you options. Okay.
Yeah.
How about you, Katie? What's on the billboard?
I think somewhat similarly, discipline, having the discipline to make those changes as you hit those different inflection points in your life, as your income, job, housing, family dynamics change, everything else, to have the discipline to stick with a savings, investing, spending plan.
I'm going to cheat a little bit because I think my word is hyphenated, but it's check in. I've always thought that we get one life here, we get one path. And every time we reach a certain gate, whether it's mid-career, retirement, anything, we really do this one time. I want to do it well. Checking in and being engaged with what's happening in your financial life, I think, is so important. We're grateful that when so many families decide to check in, they come to us and we get to work with them at that stage. But I just think the sooner that happens, the better the outcomes and the healthier the relationships with money can be. So that would be my word, check in. All right. As we have conversations, we'd love to hear your lists or your words that define your relationship or your rules from money. And we'll try and keep tossing some of these out to get these codified and maybe share them on the blog here in the coming weeks. We hope everyone's summer's going well. Be safe in any travels, and we hope to hear from you soon.